Oil prices have plummeted over the past 6 months, leading to significant losses in many energy-producing countries. So what is OPEC's plan and what does this mean for the energy industry? Well, Kay Ellen, why the drop?
An oversupply of oil, driven in good part by the fracking, the extraction of oil from shale in the United States. I think what's important to remember is it happened before.
So who are the winners with this drop?
Economies are going to be the winners. I think in the longer term, the oil industry will also hopefully win too. We're beginning to see more efficiencies. There have been capital expenditure cuts. I think oil businesses will be run more effectively.
So how do you see OPEC's role in this whole oil price drop?
Well, they fell before OPEC's meeting, and of course after the meeting in last November. But ultimately, I think they brought about a certain stability. There was a big headline at the time: oil drops to $70 a barrel after the OPEC meeting, the lowest since 2010. That's not so long ago. But now it has stabilized. It seems to have stabilized. It was 60, this print was selling at around 60, 61 this morning. And if you look out into the futures for a year, it has at about 68 to 70.
Its goal was to force non-OPEC members to slow growth, which it's achieved, but at the detriment of oil-producing economies such as Nigeria. So what happens next?
I mean, the oil-producing countries, as you point out, like Nigeria, like Venezuela, Libya, needed the higher prices of oil to fill the deficits in their budgets. They're going to have to step back and look at what they're doing, and it's going to be painful for some of those countries.
What consolidations do you foresee in light of so many companies and countries being distressed because of the low oil prices?
Something like there's 126 oil companies listed on the FTSE. About 76 of them are in a loss position right now, with one of the recent statistics. So they're going to have to become more efficient. They possibly will be combining. There's a lot of talk about ExxonMobil possibly taking over BP. I don't know if we'll see anything that mega, but there are going to be mergers between the smaller companies.
Has the US shale oil permanently dented the power of OPEC to control prices?
OPEC's too much of a producer. They produce 9 million barrels a day of crude oil. That's very much highly needed for refining products. But it tempers its ability to control the oil market. OPEC's never going to have the power it had in the 70s, but it still is very, very influential.
How do you see demand changing in the near term with Western countries steadily, albeit slowly, reducing consumption?
Well, slowly reducing consumption. You're seeing that in economies like in China, India, they're not importing so much. But on the other hand, the U.S. exports of refined products is the highest it's been in 13 years. And I think when we're coming into the summer season in some of the continents, like in Europe or in the United States, Canada, which is the driving season, we're going to see an increase in the use of oil products. And hopefully, as the economies are recovering, there's going to be a need for products made from oil in new manufacturing projects, financing, or not refinancing, but rebuilding infrastructure that's been on hold for a long time.
Well, going by Western headlines, it certainly seems, or people are suggesting perhaps that OPEC has had its day. I mean, do you think this right? Do you think it's better to perhaps be a non-member like Oman?
They represent about 30% of the production worldwide, so it's still a collective force, I think, to be reckoned with.
As Greenspan recently said, the structure of the oil market has changed. The marginal producers are gradually becoming shale producers. So what do you think the future of the energy industry will look like?
Many people are thinking that he's also underestimating the power of OPEC, but there is more room for the smaller players. But this shows them that they are going to have to be more efficient, perhaps more cooperative with their colleagues in the field. I think it's going to take out some of what we call the wildcatters, the small guys who were rushing in at any cost to try to make the fast money. I am hopeful that the industry will be more stable in the future and that there won't be so many price swings.
Looking at Russia now, for example, and also the ISIS states, do you think oil prices can sometimes be used as economic warfare?
Saudi Arabia may have been trying that a bit with Iran. In the longer term, because of the need for oil, ultimately that becomes it's on the political agenda. I think it gets worked through. But certainly the wars, insurgency with ISIS is very difficult for the industry and for anybody trying to work in countries where there is that kind of turmoil.